It's been a tough season for Kobie Mainoo at Manchester United because Ruben Amorim overlooked him. So it was class to see him shining and smiling in a superb performance against City. Now I want to talk about Kobbie, about Carrick's immediate trust in him, and the second half of this season because Kobbie's going nowhere, and I'm excited about what's coming up for him now. I think it's fair to say that the second half of this season for Kobbie at Man United is going to be inherently different to what we saw in the first half. I want to quickly run through an overview of what's happened so far this season and just give you my thoughts on why I genuinely feel Carrick might be the perfect head coach to come in for Kobbie. Not just because it's not Ruben Amorim, but because it's Carrick. I want to run through, just have a conversation about it. You can let me know what you think in the comments. What do you expect from Kobbie in the second half of the season? And more importantly, do you think Kobbie's going to get into the England World Cup squad? Because that is going to be his ambition. Now, just a quick overview, just to remind us all like what's happened in this last year. That was January 2025. We heard that United were willing to sell Garnacho and Mainoo for PSR reasons. Kind of turns out our PSR problems weren't as bad as they were. They were using the wrong accounts in the press, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's what we heard. And then fast forward to the end of the summer. And then this bombshell from David Ornstein a few days before the end of the window that Kobbie wanted to leave the club on loan. Now, United blocked that loan move. Kobbie stayed at the club. What happened after? Well, he didn't start a single Premier League game under Ruben Amorim. He started against Grimsby. Was that his only start? May have started in like a League Cup. Can't remember. But no Premier League starts under Ruben Amorim. And then, because Ruben was still in charge, we thought that Kobbie was going to leave. I did a video saying that I want Kobbie to leave. Now, important to note here that any conversation about Kobbie leaving was always about on loan. He wanted to go out, not to cut his ties with Manchester United, but to play football because he wanted to play in the World Cup. We obviously had this situation, which didn't help Kobbie in any way, shape or form. Instead, brother, such a whopper for doing that. And then the thing that changes it all. Ruben Amorim got sacked. One huge step for Kobbie personally. Because Ruben just overlooked him. He didn't feel like he athletically gave him what he wanted in a midfielder. Wasn't exactly like our midfield was flying, was it, Ruben? Anyway, he didn't start. Then Carrick came in, and this is what I mean. Like, it's almost like a perfect situation, I suppose, now for Kobbie. That game against City was his first Premier League start. He didn't win man of the match, but he was fantastic in the middle of the park. Carrick's system and shape, it complemented the midfield. It helped the midfield. United only had 38%-ish possession of the ball. A lot of work rate out of possession. And Kobbie was fantastic. And now we're hearing that Kobbie wants to stay. Any move, any talk of a move, that's gone. That was before. That was conversations about maybe a move to Napoli. But Kobbie is staying at the club. And Carrick is going to be delighted to have him. And vice versa. If you go back to that game, I spoke about this in the live show. When I was watching that game against City, I didn't think that United had like an insane work rate out of possession. It might be that United covered more distance out of possessions on the stats because we had less possession in that game than we typically do, when you think about it in that sense. But Kobbie was fantastic in midfield. Alongside Casemiro, he lasted the full 90, and that was his first Premier League start this season. And for so many United fans, we've been calling and wanting to see that. And just to see him smiling, like, this isn't... Hey, look, sometimes we're all guilty of this. Sometimes we can overhype certain players. Sometimes we can overhype individuals, and certainly academy players when they come through at Manchester United. But this is a lad who started for England at Euro 2024 in the final, who forced his way into the team, who inherently was better than the midfielders that we had, but simply didn't really fit and suit inside Amorim's system, where those two central midfielders were expected to cover so much ground. It's kind of why I found that stat so surprising, because Kobbie athletically covered more ground than anyone this season in a United shirt in a single game. Kind of goes against the idea that he can't do it, but I think it was covering smaller amounts of ground and less distance. Maybe more of it, but less, like covering 30 yards. And going back to what I was saying, after the game, there was that photo that came out of Kobbie walking through the tunnel and Carrick behind him. And it really did feel like master and apprentice, because Carrick, could you ask for a better mentor for Mainoo at this point in his career? I honestly don't know if you can. In terms of the midfielder that Carrick was, right? he was somebody who wasn't blessed with pace galore. He was somebody who was blessed with high football intelligence and seeing the game 2 steps ahead of somebody else, which naturally aligns to how Kobie Mainoo plays. Now, he's already gone on record to say, no, Kobie is an attacking player. He's going to be moving further forward. That's where he wants him. If you saw United against City, it was Casemiro kind of tucking deeper, and it was Kobie who was stepping up to maybe mark and keep close to Rodri. But it just feels like at this point for Kobie, you couldn't have a better person to look up to ask questions to. What do I do? Where do I turn? What's my best position here? How do I adapt to this situation? Michael Carrick is going to be the best person he could possibly ask for. So that's what I mean. Like, not only is Amorim left, but he's been replaced with exactly what Kobie needs at this point in his career. Now, as I said, what are you expecting from the second half of this season for Kobie? Because I look at this team now, I look at the starting 11, I look at how he played against City. Do I think we're going to be doing that every game under Carrick for the rest of the season? No. He will actually want United to have more of the ball in more games. But it worked against City. It might be that we employ a similar system against Arsenal and try and give them the ball and then punish them when we hit in the spaces that they leave behind. But for Kobie, he has 1 goal for the rest of this season. Maybe 1 goal, that's a bit unfair. 2 goals. 1 is to succeed at Manchester United, but that inherently links to the other one. Getting in that England squad. It's going to be a hell of a task for him to do that, basically given that he's missed the entire first half of this season. But it's possible. It's possible for Mainoo at United because Carrick is there. And yeah, I'm letting myself daydream here. But I'm thinking of a United midfield next season with Kobie as probably the more progressive, not progressive, because Elliot Henderson is a hell of a progressive player, but maybe the central midfielder who does step forward a little bit whilst Elliot Anderson maybe tucks in slightly. Mate, that combo. So that combo has everything you could possibly want from a central midfield partnership on paper, doesn't it? Now, I think it's going to be very tough for United to get Elliot Anderson, but we're going to absolutely try and go out and get him. And for the first half of this season, we've seen Kobie exist in the shadows at the club. Was he doing enough when he came on off the bench with those sort of cameos? I always feel it's really hard to judge a player like that because a game state when it's 20 minutes to go is very different to a game state when you're starting. He started against City, his first in the Premier League this season, and he was fantastic. And I think he's buzzing that he's got Michael Carrick there as his mentor. And I'm just going to be excited to watch the second half of this season because I think we should see Kobie develop, maybe develop new parts of his game, but also just bring the best out of him because it's been frustrating seeing him sit on the sidelines. And I'm excited to see what happens now. And hopefully he gets into the World Cup squad because that would be amazing as well.